Hey, Robbie,
All
how
right.
are you?
Howdy. I'm jumping on in. I'm going to do some interference. Let's go ahead and turn this off.
Good
Maybe.
idea. All right, so you're watching. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. You're watching the TMI show. That's the Ted Manila. That's the Ted Manila Information Show with Ted Rall. That's me, and Manila Chan. That's not Robbie West, who's sitting over to the left side of your screen. Manila's having some Rumble Studio glitches. We're trying to get her on right now and troubleshoot. Thank you, Robbie, for doing that.
Of course.
Um, And while we do that, I don't know if Manila can hear us. I think I see her. Manila, add yourself up to the screen, or maybe Robbie, you can do it.
Yeah, I just added her.
There she is. Manila, we see you.
Can you hear us?
Manila, 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 we see you. She looks very confused, and her
She's just.
glasses look really big.
They do, but they are cute, though.
Yeah, they're not bad, but they're big. Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
it's because she has those big Asian eyes.
that's right. The big googly Asian, the famously googly Asian eyes. What's with it? With I mean, I guess I'm as the cartoonist here, I should know the answer to this. I don't understand why in manga, right, which is done by Japanese people originally, they all have giant eyes. Like, what's with that?
It's because big eyes are less threatening. So the villain has small, narrow eyes, whereas the hero or
Mm-hmm.
the innocent, the goody two shoe person.
Mm-hmm.
If you have big eyes, you're considered less threatening.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. All right. Well, I don't know what we should do here. I mean, it's kind of hard
Well,
to do it without Manila. We have, but we kind of planned on her. Okay, what's
well,
she saying here?
I think she needs to reboot her
Oh,
computer. I think
she's not getting audio. Or you know what? I bet her tab is muted.
I asked her for tab is muted. She said no, and so I told her to close out the web browser, and it still doesn't have any audio. So what I think probably is going on is that her audio driver is hung up. So maybe she's listening to music or watching a video, or she was on
Mm-hmm.
StreamYard for a meeting. That
Mm-hmm.
driver get hung up by
Yeah,
another
you and I've
system.
had that problem before. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Well, that means obviously we should talk about these lions that died at the zoo in Tokyo.
of course.
So for people who are not following this, four lions died at the Tokyo Zoo of heat stroke. And Robbie, I didn't get your take over on Deprogram about that, but I mean that's pretty shocking. I mean, look, it gets hot in Japan, but it doesn't get to be 108 degrees Fahrenheit, 40 degrees Celsius or more. It just doesn't. Um, I mean, are you finally going to concede that man-made climate change is a thing?
I'll concede that climate changes. I'm not going to concede that humans are a net cause behind it because a volcano erupting creates more pollution than what humans do. Now, that being said, there are things that we should do to mitigate it. We should plant more trees. We should be good stewards of the environment. We should take out the resources that we have. But to say that me and my 2011 Dodge Dakota pickup truck is systematically destroying the planet is a bit much, especially when you have governments blowing up other countries, blowing up oil tankers, blowing up oil refineries.
Well,
Uh,
none of well, it's a whole pile of shit that's all contributing to it, right? Not to
yeah,
mention the wildfires that you're a victim of right now.
oh, but it's so wild. I mean, you can't even see the sun right now.
But of course, the wildfires are like this classic example of a doom loop. We heat up the planet, that dries things out and causes drought, and then you end up with, then you end up with fires that heat up the planet more.
Well, the best way to handle the forest fires, honestly, is with logging, going through and cutting down dead and dying trees, spacing them
True,
out.
true, but that's very, very hard, right? I mean,
It's not very hard. It's a major industry. It's one of the biggest industries here in Montana, and lefty tree hugging environmentalists kill that industry. And now we have massive fires going on with the Bob Marshall. 'Cause like, oh no, you can't cut down the sick trees. Instead, we're just going to let everything burn up instead. No, there's nothing hard about it. No, there are some problems that capitalism is able to solve. Cutting down dead
yeah,
trees is one of them.
that's true. Capitalism isn't entirely useless, um, but it sets the basis for socialism and then communism. So for that reason, we like capitalism. Manila, what are you doing? Oh, it takes a long time to boot up a computer. Should we just start the show, or what
Yeah,
do you
let's
think?
just do it. Let's just go because I mean,
All
no,
right,
no, listen. At the end of the day, while Manila is the face of the show, she's definitely the beauty. Uh,
that's true. Yeah, it's certainly not me.
we are perfectly capable of driving this ship into the iceberg ourselves.
Okay, Manila rebooted, so we'll see her soon. All right, here we go. I'll go ahead and read story number one. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can even. No, I don't. I don't have access to. I don't have access to the JAWS. I'm not a. Can you make me an administrator? She never made me an administrator.
Um,
You could if you're an administrator, right?
I can hold on. Let me get onto the other computer over here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Because I mean,
just start reading
all right, here
screen.
we go. All right. The Republican Party may have a new headache. A weekend meeting between Tucker Carlson, former Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, Representative Tom Massey, and several other anti Trump America First figures has sparked speculation that a new political movement, or maybe a third party, could well be taking shape. I see Manila back. Greene posted a photo from the gathering declaring the movement has begun, while Carlson has openly discussed the need for an alternative to today's Republican Party. What's driving the split? Not taxes or immigration, it's foreign policy. Carlson, Greene, and Massey argue that Trump has drifted from America First by involving the U.S. in stupid wars, especially in Iran. Greene accuses Trump of betraying the movement that returned him to office, while Massey has broken with Trump over military intervention and spending. Whether this becomes a real political party is obviously a very open question. Launching a viable third party in the United States is notoriously hard. Every state has very different ballot access rules. Fundraising is brutal, and the Electoral College strongly favors the two-party system when you're talking about national presidential races. History is not encouraging. From Ross Perot's Reform Party in 1992 to the Libertarians and the Green Party, third parties have influenced elections far more than they've actually won. But I guess the big exception would be 1860. The people involved already command enormous online audiences. Carlson alone reaches millions through podcasts and social media. Massey and Greene have loyal grassroots followings. In today's political environment, influence no longer requires a TV network or even a party. The bigger question is whether this is the birth of a new party or simply leverage against the Republican establishment. If enough conservative voters conclude that Trump has abandoned America First, the movement could reshape GOP primaries even without fielding its own presidential candidate. For now, one thing is clear: the loudest fight on the right is no longer Republicans versus Democrats; it's MAGA versus MAGA.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while. I mean, no, Trump blew up his coalition. This isn't a surprise. It's the Saeed effect going on the other side.
Yeah, it certainly is. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting how analogous it is, right? I mean, so in both cases, you have in both the Democratic and Republican big tents, you have a corporatist center, so called. Although I wouldn't say that starting wars against anyone and everyone is necessarily a centrist or moderate policy. But anyway, these corporatists who are in bed with the Fortune 500 and with Israel and with the military-industrial complex, basically they think that their duty is just to start wars and collect money for their friends at the expense of the American people. Meanwhile, on the left side of the aisle for the Democrats, the progressives, the socialists, the DSA people, the commies, etc., those people, as well as the America First right, the OG MAGA people, populist right, who want to put the needs of the American people first, those people are splitting off, and that's where all the energy is in both parties. And so it's ironic because you have all the ideas and dynamism coming from the people who are not allowed to drive the car. So basically, it's like dead grandpa is running things, and like the kid who's fully caffeinated and ready to go is not being allowed to to take the wheel. It's really frustrating on both sides. I mean, okay, let's talk about this particular confab though. Um, look, the movement has begun. Look, that's a tweet, okay? Like whatever. The question is, do you think that a third party is in the works from the likes of these guys, or that they're up to something else? And that's part question number one. And question number two is, as a OG America Firster, Robbie, do you believe that a third party is what's needed for people who share your politics?
We have a parliamentary system, first and foremost. The two-party system's got to be replaced. I mean, that's what has to happen. Now, are the America Firster people like Tucker Carlson? You could make the case maybe for Candace Owens, Dave Smith, these other people. Will they form a third party? I don't know. I think that for that to happen is that you would have to have enough overlap between the populist left and the populist right to be able to make a difference. And the right wingers by themselves, you're not going to have enough power to do it. It will involve both wings coming together and saying nuts to the establishment, working together and agree to settle their issues later on. The question is can the left and the right do that with both sides willing to compromise on things that they must have for their respective parts? Immigration is going to be a key part of that conversation. Will the populist left get behind the populist right on immigration? If they do, it's viable. If they won't,
I think it's possible because the thing is that the big push for open borders didn't come from the far left. The far left always wanted walls and controlled borders and wanted to protect American jobs. That's where you can look up. I'm far left. You can look at columns that I wrote 15 years ago calling for a border wall. So that's not. I don't think that's a gap. I guess from a practical point of view, probably. Because there are meaningful differences, obviously, between the far left and the far right, to use this shorthand. A single party, a uniform, populist party where we bury our left versus right differences would not last long and would likely split. And probably the smart move would be to have two new parties, one for the populist left, one for the populist right, where in a parliamentary system, they were able to form coalitions and come together the way that's how parliamentary systems work overseas, and be able to vote on things like immigration policy and jobs and so on, and protecting workers, and be able to form alliances as needed in order to get things done over the heads of the corporatists.
Yeah, that'd be the only way it could work. I think is agree to work together whenever you can. And the thing is, I think there's enough energy to do it. The question is, will enough, and I hate the phrase, normal people get off their blessed assurances and go and support these reformers who are trying to hijack the system? Because at the end of the day, if you have 20, 24, 28, 30-year-old people who just sit on their phone and complain all day, but never actually get out and do the work to push through change, it's going to die on the vine. That's probably what the Republicans and Democrats are waiting for, is for it to fail to launch and just go away. If people are motivated, if people realize that self-governance requires work, and that means you have to be an active participant and not just a spectator, we could have real reform. But that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Hey, so Robbie, do you have access to the elements? Like could you shut down this stream if you had to?
Yeah, I can kill it.
Okay, so were you able to add me as an administrator?
You are an administrator.
Oh, that's really weird. I still don't see that stuff.
Yeah, I don't have the jaws either here on my side either.
I see Manila coming up here. All right. So, do you want to read the next story?
I don't have it pulled up.
Oh, okay, I'll do it, or I can do it.
Okay. I was woefully unprepared. Oh, hold on. I might have the jaws.
We have a comment here, though.
I do have the jaws.
You've got the power.
I do. I just appropriated the Asian.
And there we go. All right, we have a comment from PW Walker and a donation. Thank you, PW. Trump is truly the Obama of the right. I've been saying this since 2019. Both campaigned on hope and change, failed to deliver, then sent minions online to blame everyone but their fearless leader.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
And in fairness, I mean, the Republicans do the same thing. You always have fear of the other. And I know it's going to sound crazy coming from me because I am vehemently like close to borders and pro mass deportation. But that's not because I'm afraid of the immigrant. I understand why they're here.
Mm.
Listen, if I was a Mexican or an El Salvadoran or something, you could bet your butt I'd be doing my best to get here. I blame my leaders for doing this because they're not doing it for the benefit of the American people at large. They're doing this stuff to enrich the oligarch class, the Epstein class that runs the country. That's what it is. And so it's not a racial thing for me. It's a class and economics thing. If work doesn't pay what it did, then how could you possibly, like to your point, you said Japan is imploding because they don't have any place to get married and screw and have kids.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Well, we're running into the same problem here. If you can't have a house, then where are you going to screw and have kids? How are you going to continue the society? And no,
Right.
and then the suicide rate is increasing every single year, especially among men. No one cares. No one talks about it.
No one
Meanwhile,
cares.
the answer from Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and the Republicans and the Democrats is just like, oh, more immigration. That's a good thing. No, it's not. If your society is literally killing itself, that's not a good thing.
Well, of course, Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are pro-immigrant. They are immigrants.
And they should be the first ones deported, preferably from the planet.
I would not miss them at all. Yeah, no, it's yeah. No, I mean, look, that's obviously unimpeachable, pun intended. But yeah, that's where we are. All right, shall we move on? What's going on with Manila? I don't understand. I keep telling her she should just use the phone.
I don't know.
Oh, do you want to send Manila the link so
Yeah.
so that she can just come on via her phone?
That's probably smart. See, this is why Ted. This is why we got to have you because I'm a tard.
Yeah, that's so. We all know that's not true. Yesterday, I was accused of humble bragging because I remember Caleb Malpin.
Yeah.
At him, so he was talking about how college is he felt like it was a tremendous waste of money, and I was like, all I replied on X to say is like, look, I wouldn't go that far. I think Columbia was a good experience, but I would say it was not worth what it cost. And then people accused me of humble bragging for having claimed that I'd gone to Columbia. And I'm like, yeah.
Oh, you did go to Columbia. It's not a
Yeah.
claim.
No, it's not. Yeah, but just for, yeah.
I mean, I can claim I went to Harvard.
You
I
could
didn't.
claim that. Yeah, people do lie about shit like that. But and nobody usually checks. Especially nowadays, we live in an era where nobody puts their diplomas up on their wall unless they're gay. Okay, Manila, put your name. Oh my God, Manila, stop saying that. Yeah, Manila, go to your phone. Put the link into Safari. Please, now. God, the show's half over. I mean, Jesus Christ. All right.
So,
All right, let's.
well, are you trying to say you don't enjoy me as a co-host, Ted?
No, I enjoy you. I just like, it's kind of like, wait, she what? She did? Yeah, that's not true. That's just not true. I just don't. No, I'm not even going to answer that. Okay. I have to download Rumble app. No! No. Go to Safari. This is just like Dr. Reese.
Doesn't she have a laptop?
Maybe. I don't know what the fuck she's doing. She's claiming that Safari is not letting her use the link without the Rumble app. I guess that must be true, right? It must be. All right. So
Yeah, I couldn't tell. I've always been on this end.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean that shouldn't be the case. I mean, obviously, what if you have to be able to. All right. Anyway, all right. For only the third time in modern American history, women now hold more payroll jobs than men. Unlike the brief reversals during the Great Recession of 2008 to 2010, the COVID shutdowns, and economists say that this shift appears to reflect something much deeper. The American economy is changing, but millions of men are not along for the ride. The numbers are striking. Over the past year, women added nearly 300,000 jobs. Men lost 142,000. So basically, that is a net gap of 440,000 jobs in just 1 year. The male labor force participation rate, that's the rate at which people are either have a job or are looking for a job, has fallen dramatically from its post-war peak. While in post-war, we mean World War II here, while women continue to make gains in fields that barely existed at today's scale a generation ago. It's tempting to chalk it up to cultural stereotypes, young men living in their parents' basements, which, by the way, is true. 50% or more of kids who graduated from college live in their parents' basements until they're 30. Playing video games while girlfriends pay the rent. There's some evidence that prime-age men who have left the workforce spend substantially more on recreational screen use than previous generations, but that doesn't really explain the whole thing. The real story is structural. America no longer runs on steel mills and assembly lines. The fastest growing industries are healthcare, elder care, education, social assistance, and professional services, occupations that are pink-collar ghettos where women have been historically overrepresented. The aging boomer population guarantees that many of those jobs will continue to expand for decades. At the same time, many of the sectors that used to offer stable careers for dudes, manufacturing, technology, finance, transportation, media, have either gotten automated, outsourced, or slowed their hiring. The economy increasingly rewards interpersonal skills. What are you saying? Us guys aren't interpersonal? Caregiving. You're saying we're not caring? And advanced credentials over physical labor. Education has widened the divide. Women now earn most bachelor's and graduate degrees in the U.S., giving them an advantage entering many of the professions driving today's economy. Meanwhile, young men are enrolling in and completing college at lower rates than women, shrinking their pipeline into high-growth careers. So it's not necessarily that women have won the workplace. Women still earn less on average than dudes, remain underrepresented in the C-suite, and continue to shoulder a disproportionate share of caregiving responsibilities at home. Women are becoming more numerous in the workforce, but they're not really getting more of the money in a very big way. So the question is, what happens in a country where a growing number of working age guys simply can't work? Economists have long warned about the rise of men without work, not to be confused with the 1980s band Men Without Hats, prime age men who are neither employed nor actively seeking employment. While retirees account for a lot of the nation's growing population outside the workforce, millions of working age guys have also disappeared from the employment rolls, raising concerns that the issue is social as much as economic. So the real question, though, is whether America is preparing workers, especially young men, for an economy that's very different from the one that their dads went into. The jobs of the future reward empathy as much as efficiency, communication as much as technical ability, and lifelong adaptation over lifelong specialization. And so, yeah, these are big structural problems. And this society is not set up to deal with them.
Yeah, well, that society's collapse. I mean, honestly, that's what it is. It's men need to have something to do. Men need to have work, and if they don't have that, then either they get depressed and they off themselves, or they get violent and start breaking things. It's one of those two things. That's the story of humanity in a nutshell.
Yep.
Men got to have a mission. It's how we're built. I mean,
yep, we do.
Your mission is of trying to have a communist revolution and writing books. Mine is writing an AI and producing shows while doing a gaming channel, which is quite fun. But at the end of the day, though, I mean, you got to have something to do.
You do.
And the problem is, I don't know how you solve this because if you have men and women competing against each other, and then you have a growing segment in each of those two spheres, you have women say, I don't need no man. And then you have men saying, I don't want to get married. Screw those women. That is a bigger structural problem than racism, than class inequality, than anything else, because that is foundational. That is the foundation.
It is foundational.
And then once that breaks
It's
apart,
also bizarre.
yeah, it is. It sucks. And I don't know what the fix is. Because you have the Andrew Tates on one side. It's like, oh, be a macho man. But what his idea of a macho man is very different than mine. The guy's he's a pimp of the highest order who, frankly, should honestly be. I'm generally opposed to prison. He's one guy who I think should spend the rest of his mortal days in one. He's just.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Yeah, that is where he belongs. There's no question. Yeah.
And then, but then what you do on the other side of the aisle, like you have the rabid feminists who say that women can do everything that men can do. I don't need men. It's all about women's liberation. Do whatever I want to do. Men are the enemy. I don't know how you fix this.
I think this is, yeah. I mean, I think you would need a radical. I mean, okay, you might. I've always thought that we needed a revolution in order to make society more equal. But we might just need a revolution just to make society make more sense, just because we're going to need a new system that can, we're basically, people are paying attention to the real problems we have in some kind of intelligent way, which we currently don't have. I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is it might not be as important to have a left-wing revolution as it is important just to throw out the existing system because it's so incompetent and dysfunctional that there's literally no one trying to figure out these giant structural problems like this. It's not even a question of a society having the wrong priorities, which of course it does. It's a society that literally doesn't even do the base. I mean, what is a political system supposed to do? It's supposed to be like a society has a set of concerns that it elects elected representatives to address and try to resolve. And also a political class that anticipates new problems and recognizes problems that already exist that may or may not have come to the attention of the population at large, and also try to figure out how to resolve those using the communal resources that are available to something as big as the government, but are not available to even big corporations or much less to individuals. And I don't think that, we don't have that system. We have a system where literally they don't even talk about the shit that matters. So, of course, obviously, it's never going to get resolved. I mean, it's not going to get resolved unless it gets resolved, I don't know, accidentally, like taking a wrong turn off the freeway. It's just not going to happen.
I mean, the only way I can think of we could fix this, Ted, is by putting such a premium on college and bring back vocational schools. And that means you're going to have jobs for those workers because not everybody's going to be a plumber or an electrician or a mechanic.
No.
We've got to restore manufacturing. We've got to bring back we got to bring the jobs back.
Well, or we just have to bring back something that has the same effect as those manufacturing jobs have.
Well, what would that be? Because even if you gave people,
it could be UBI.
Well, UBI doesn't solve the problem about men still needing something to do because
True.
Idle men do stupid things.
But a UBI, let's say you got a UBI, and let's say it was like good. Let's say you and I both got like, I don't know, $75,000 a year from the federal government, right? I don't know about you, but if I had nothing better to do, I would definitely, my little monkey brain would be thinking of like new businesses to start, new art projects, new this, new that. And I'm pretty sure you're the same. You wouldn't just be sitting at home with your thumb up your ass. You're a busy, ambitious dude, and you wouldn't just be watching TV. You'd be bored doing that. So, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of Americans, it would feed entrepreneurship if they had that that ability to pay their bills and maybe even save a little bit and capitalize a new business.
Yeah, well, I mean, in a way, I mean, the call to action that we got people doing, going through watching the playlist and stuff is a UBI.
True.
No, now I've
True,
thought
true.
about that.
By the way, just a reminder to just remind everyone what we're talking about there.
Well, let's see if Manila is able to talk. Manila, can you hear us?
I can finally hear you.
Yeah!
Huzzah! Success! We got the host back.
Robbie fixed it.
How did he fix it? Was it like you doing dumb girl things?
No. Ted. I was doing dumb Ted things, how you always lose audio and
Well, that's when I'm like a technologically trans.
Yes. However, I'm trying to correct one thing. I could hear you guys. I guess you can see me?
Yeah, we
Right?
see it. Yeah, it's just the banner's up on the washboard, but no, we're all on the screen. We can see each other, and people on the stream can see us too. So
Robbie fixed it, sent me a whole step-by-step, check this, check that, check that, check that.
What did it turn out to be, out of curiosity?
I don't know where, at what point,
Oh, Jesus.
but it started sending the audio to my microphone.
Ah.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Because what will happen is that if you have a USB microphone,
Do you?
then sometimes if you're using a Bluetooth headset, then sometimes what will happen is that the Bluetooth will drop off and it routes everything through the mic.
It sent everything to the microphone. And I never would have thought to check there if
Was the
Robbie
mic
didn't.
off?
No, the mic was on. But
Oh, well, that's the problem, yeah.
but I don't have headsets connected to it. So if Robbie hadn't sent me check this, check this, check this, I wouldn't have fixed it. So I don't actually know where you guys are at on anything. So
Well, we
because I haven't been able to hear.
We basically killed the first two stories, so you're in time to read story number 3.
Yeah,
You killed the first two.
we
Yeah,
did.
Well, we're 38 minutes into the show.
We get stuff
do you
done.
want?
Yeah,
Well, right now we're talking about Putinbot Gaming and how Robbie has a UBI going on.
Yeah, Robbie, why don't you tell everyone about Putinbot Gaming again, and then we'll go straight into Diet Coke.
Yeah. So for Putinbot Gaming, because in order to keep doing producer stuff and troubleshooting audio going to microphones, I've got to be able to pay my bills. And the one ways you're able to pay my bills that doesn't cost you a dime is go to Putinbot Gaming on either Rumble or YouTube. Rumble pays more, but I am 100% willing to take that sweet lucre from YouTube. Fire up a playlist to let that puppy go so I'm able to farm watch hours and stuff. And whenever I go live on a stream on Rumble, if you just come and just drop a unique chat. I've got 7 unique chatters so far for the month. I need 75. So if I go live, just come by, say hi, call me a Nazi or white supremacist. I seriously don't care. Just drop a turd. It makes no difference. And that way I can pay my bills and keep helping Manila not throw her computer in the trash.
That's right. And this isn't that old. This is a computer Robbie recommended.
It's a Windows thing. It's not the
years
computer.
ago?
Well, because what happens?
Bill Gates.
Well, what happens is the audio bus. I talked to you about it off camera, but
Okay.
it happens.
Okay, so you guys didn't do story 1 or 2?
No, we did
I
both.
thought that's what
We
you
did both of those.
Oh, okay. I was like, you guys didn't. What have you been talking about for 38 minutes? Okay, but I'm in time for number 3. Okay.
Yep.
So it's a medical thing. Wait, I gotta do this for posterity. Did that work, Robbie?
It did. It worked. Just make sure that you click it off.
I did. And did you guys already address their bikes a lot?
No.
No, it just came through. So Sir Bikes a lot. Thank you for the $2. A
UBI would work properly, he says, if it's double for those who have a job or perform volunteer work. Why do you think the Epstein class wants to launch a ground invasion of Iran?
See, I missed all of that conversation, so I don't know what to say about that. But
well, all I can say is that Robbie and I were fucking brilliant, and I can't believe you missed it.
Ted was brilliant. I was just along
my
for the
microphone
ride.
heard it all.
I was troubleshooting, so
Yeah,
Your
my microphone heard
was,
it all. Ted,
was
don't worry.
seriously jealous, yeah.
All right. So medical stuff. For decades, parents have warned children that soda could eat through their stomach lining, dissolve their teeth, and possibly strip paint off a Buick, which is actually very true because I've seen videos like in real time of people cleaning toilets with Coca-Cola. Just saying.
And in the Deep South, they cook with it, right?
There's all kinds of stuff you can do with Coke. So it turns out dissolving things is exactly why doctors prescribed it. A 63-year-old Massachusetts woman went to the hospital after about a month of nausea, vomiting, poor appetite, and burning abdominal pain. Initial scans showed she had material sitting in her stomach, but doctors needed a closer look. So they performed an upper endoscopy. That's even more fun. Guiding a camera through her mouth into her stomach. There, in full gastrointestinal glory, was a large gastric bezoar, a tightly packed mass of partially digested food that had essentially taken up residence without paying rent.
Ew, Bezoars, a bezoar. I thought that was sounds like an alien creature from a sci-fi
bezoar
movie. Yeah.
Bezoars are genuinely rare. They're found in fewer than 0.5% of upper gastrointestinal endoscopies.
And that means never be found in me is all I ask.
Oh God.
I don't ask God for much, but I'm going to ask for that.
Not for that. Don't have impacted food.
Yeah,
that means even the most gastroenterologists are far more likely to find ulcers, inflammation, or reflux damage than a giant food boulder. Oh, gross. The woman had been taking semaglutide.
It's like cats having hairballs.
Yes. So the woman had been using semaglutides, the active ingredient used in GLP-1 drugs such as Ozempic and Wegovy. These medications slow gastric emptying, helping people feel fuller longer.
Maybe they just feel fuller because they have a bezoar.
Well, no, that's because they're not digesting their food. That's what they
just have a giant hairball in their tums.
The food just doesn't get digested, so that's what makes them not hungry.
Disgusting.
So in unusual cases, however, food may remain in the stomach long enough to collect, compact, and form the bezoar. Doctors stopped the medication.
That's the word of the day, bezoar.
Doctors stopped that medication and considered how to remove the mass. Surgery and endoscopy breakup are options, but physicians often try to dissolve food-based bezoars chemically. Enter the Diet Coke. Because the patient had diabetes, doctors chose sugar-free cola. So Diet Coke. The usual reported treatment can involve as much as 3 liters in the course of 12 hours, but because she disliked carbonated drinks, she received. I know who dislikes carbonated drinks.
I've never met anyone who dislikes carbonated drinks.
Everybody likes carbonated drinks. Okay, but whatever.
This is part of why she had the bezoar.
She received a prescription for only 1.5 liters. By the second day.
Wait. So you're telling me like the doctor prescribes something, but because you don't think it's tasty, they're like, you can get that by 50%.
I hate carbonated drinks.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Like,
so the doctor's like, okay.
If I'm like, I don't really care for chemotherapy. Can I have halvesies? Sure.
So that's I don't know what kind of doctor this was, but her gastro doc was like,
wacko.
All right, fine.
I hope it's not covered by insurance. Anyway,
1.5 liters of Coke. Don't worry, Ted. Instead of charging $3 for that 2 liter, insurance is being charged $700. $700.
It's the cost of a toilet seat for the Pentagon.
$700. Mm-hmm. By the second day, she felt a tugging sensation followed by relief from the nausea and pain. Then came the proof. Doctors performed another endoscopy. The bezoar was gone. Researchers still do not fully understand whether cola works.
It came out as ginormous poo, I imagine.
No, it broke apart. So they don't know. Doctors and scientists still don't know, Ted, if it's why soda works, or cola in particular. They don't know if it's because of the acidity, the carbonation, or some chemical tag team involving both. But case reports have documented its use for years as an inexpensive, relatively low-risk first-line treatment for certain plant-based bezoars. This does not mean Diet Coke is a home remedy for stomach pain. A bezoar must be properly diagnosed and severe cases can cause bleeding, obstruction, or even perforation. But the irony is magnificent. The one time that soda legitimately dissolved something inside a human stomach, the doctors considered that excellent news. So usually it has like the opposite effect, right? Is like you drink soda and it literally
get bloated, and
it gives you the diabetes that she had. I mean, she was an overweight lady. She lost like 40 pounds, I guess, in the, I don't know, last several months.
The GLPs are, I guess, working at some point. Yeah.
Right. Except it impacted the food. So like I feel like it's every week, Ted, we're finding out new bizarre side effects of like Ozempic.
Oh,
right?
totally.
Like
yeah.
Oh my God! Yesterday we're talking
this
about
thing
the
that nobody
plastic
used,
surgery,
and now suddenly tens of millions of Americans are on it. So of course we're learning all sorts of weird shit.
But like, what the fuck? So I looked up. I was like, Bezoar. What the fuck is that? So
Bezoar.
that's what cat fur balls are. Bezoars. They're feline
That's what
bezoars.
I said.
Yeah, they're feline bezoars, and apparently,
yeah, that's right.
Apparently, there's a human version of that because there's like a whole list of like medically categorized bezoars.
What about ambergris? From Wales. Is that like whale bezoar?
What?
They puke.
What the Japanese
It's puke.
are...
It's puke. Whale puke is used for perfume, or at least used to be.
Oh, yes.
And it's very expensive.
And it's like
very
in rock
valuable.
formation.
Like people would look for it on the beach, and then like,
yeah.
oh, I found a bunch of this.
Well, I don't think you're eating that, though.
I'm rich.
One guy just recently got he sold millions of dollars worth of like this rock thing. Like I don't remember where it was.
That was different, right?
The dude, but that's not a whale bezoar.
It is. Ambergris is a type of animal bezoar. It is. Mm-hmm.
Well,
it develops around sharp, indigestible squid beaks. Okay, squid beaks.
Because, so all these other animals can get bezoars?
It's in order to protect the whale's gut. So in other words, it eats a giant squid. The squid beak is pointy, so you can't have that. Whale's a mammal, so if it goes through their digestive tract, it could pierce or it could perforate their intestine and kill them from internal bleeding.
Oh, God.
So the bezoar forms around it, kind of like sand around a pearl, and it allows the whale to pass the beak of the sperm whale
check this out.
Yeah, that's cool.
Check this out. Under like human bezoar conditions, one of the known documented things is, I forget the scientific name for it, but it's a hair bezoar specific to people that have that weird fetish. No, it's not a fetish. A weird, what do we call it? They have that weird proclivity to eating their own hair.
Oh, is that coprophagia? That's eating dirt, I think.
Yeah, I think that's dirt. But there's a hair one. So apparently gastroenterologists, I don't know what I was reading about, like some gastroenterology magazine online. Gastroenterology. Gastro Today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Gastro Month.
I read Gastro Today. And
this week in gassy news.
And there's a whole subsection about people with like the mental health issues about eating their own hair, and they form human versions of cat fur balls or hair balls. Mm-hmm. So anyway, this woman, I know it says that it's 0.5% of gastros will find a bezoar in a patient's stomach, but I think with this rapid increase rise in usage of Ozempic and Wegovy and all these GLP-1s, I think you're going to see more of these bezoars. I'd never heard of this before until yesterday. I went, oh God, that's disgusting. Just a ball of impacted hard food in your stomach. And the woman waited a whole month?
I don't know anything about bezoars, but I do have good news for us. As of right now, we are number 11 on Rumble in politics.
Nice.
Ooh.
We are there. And this is the 4th of the month, and we are at 43 of our 75 unique chatters. So
More unique chats, please. Don't
What?
lurk in the background. Please drop us a poop emoji or
Please.
call Robbie a Nazi. It's all fun and games.
Or a communist. Call him a communist.
Or that. Yeah, or that. Or that.
a deacon at my church called me a communist on Sunday.
You should thank him. That's a compliment.
Well, it's just like, it's fine, whatever. It's funny.
Robbie, have you, in your years of working at the hospital, did you ever see a patient case of a bezoar?
Not that I can recall.
So maybe it is super rare.
Well,
Man.
obviously, it's nothing. I mean, we're pretty well read, and we, follow a lot
Yeah.
of news, and we've never heard of this. So
never
yeah,
heard of
it's
that.
clearly rare.
Well, I don't think it's
Obviously.
going to be rare anymore, is my point. I think
Oh, that's
after
true. Everyone. I mean, this is
everyone
actually,
on
if you don't
Ozempic,
listen to this show, you could die because you might not know what's going on to you. And that's
you
frankly-
might never.
And if you don't listen to the show, you deserve to die. So
No,
Oh,
typically,
Ted,
what?
no,
you will
no,
learn some weird health shit on this show. Let me just say.
typically, a lot of the things that I saw that people consider off the mainstream is
Every year, by the way, most people who die are people who don't listen to this show.
That's
So
true.
Think about that. That means there's a direct correlation.
Is it causal? I don't know, but correlation.
But is it?
It's there.
But is it caused? Yes, it is. It is a definite 150%.
This show
not
will
listening
save
to
life.
Yeah, you will die if you don't listen to this show. I mean, I guarantee you, everyone who doesn't listen to this show will eventually die.
That's a strong guarantee. What were we going to say, Robbie?
I was just going to say, a lot of the treatments I saw that are out of the mainstream is using honey for burns, maggots to clear out dead flesh. Like that was you put maggots in wounds. Because maggots, they don't eat living tissue. And so that's how they would go through and get the
It's
necrotic
actually
tissue out.
incredibly cool and interesting.
No, it is. And I mean, seriously, that's one of the things that they would do. Like, especially if someone was out in the bush and they were in an ATV accident and like 4 days before they got into the hospital and they have major fractures or something. So then the tissue dies. And so they would use maggots to go through and clean out the dead.
Is there such a thing as medical grade maggots?
Yeah, there are.
Yeah. Well, it's just maggots.
There's like medical leeches. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I mean, they
We
use
still use leeches?
No, you don't know about this? You of all people?
No, I mean, no, historically, yes, but
No.
currently?
Leeches,
No, even now.
Leeches are used now more than ever.
People have a lot of, especially with diabetics, have a lot of just really just gnarly foot swelling or something. It's because the fluids get trapped in there, so they put
Yeah, it's
leeches on them.
edema. Yeah.
So they let
I
leeches
thought
just.
the leeches take blood, not
They do.
the fluid that
They
leaks
do,
from
but
your veins.
the problem is that this isn't universal. I'm about to say, but a lot of people it happen because, especially if you have COPD, like your heart's not strong enough to pump the blood from your feet up to your head, so it just pulls in your feet because of gravity. And then how do you get this stuff out? Leeches. That's how they do it. And then you get a $7,000 medical bill for leech
Yes.
therapy.
Right.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
So in this case, I
But I guess
really
the
am
leeches
curious.
are relatively. It's really it's like surgery. It's relatively painless.
No, there's no pain.
I'm really curious as to like, did the doctor actually prescribe like write on a prescription pad to be like 4 liters of Diet Coke?
Probably. Because you got to have an order. Well, you got to have an order. I mean, everything has to be written down. It's just like, with the burn victims that I would see, is that they would say, use localized honey, and they would just put the honey over the burns. Because honey is a natural antiseptic. People don't realize that.
But that even
Especially when the
Seriously?
bees come and sting you.
so, you really think the doctor wrote on a script Diet Coke?
100%.
Yeah.
Guarantee it. They have to.
100%.
Everything
And
has
it
to be
goes in
written
your
down.
file?
Yeah.
That's what the mode
Yeah.
that they tried to cure you
Yeah.
with?
Yeah, honest to God, that's what they do. It's just like, if you get ibuprofen, they write down ibuprofen or acetaminophen
Like
or whatever.
Tylenol or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Diet Coke. Listen, if you have corrosion on your on the connectors of your battery, the best thing to use is a toothbrush and some Coke. Just pour some Coke on it. Use a toothbrush.
Yeah,
scrape
just brush it off.
It's the same. It's the same concept.
This is wild.
It's the same
Hey,
thing.
so Stormborn says, I use medical grade honey for my patients' wounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, honey. Well, Dr. Reese is big on that. I learned all about the honey stuff from Dr. Reese. Manuka honey, he says, because he went to, I don't know, graduate school or postdoctoral in Australia, and so I guess they have like the supremest of honey in Australia. The bees down there are apparently top notch.
That's because they go counterclockwise.
That's it. All right, one last quick one. I have something to say about this story, Ted. I read it the other day, and
well, I should certainly hope so. You should have something to say about every story. I mean,
I do.
It is a radio show, sort of.
Podcast, Ted.
It's a podcast.
The kids call it a podcast.
I know. That's what they call it. Although it's so legacy, Manila. You know, we don't have iPods anymore.
Or we actually don't like tape on videotape anymore either.
Right, that's true.
But we still say
tape. We still dial someone.
iPods are coming back though.
Yeah,
and the whole retro craze, iPods are making a comeback. True. And Creative Labs is actually starting to come out with their own MP3 player because
I have my old iPod.
Having this isn't enough.
I could sell it for $700 or $800.
Yeah, it's a collector's item.
Mm-hmm.
It's
because the thing is, it's not just the nostalgia; it has more space on it. If you have a big one, which I did, then your phone does for music. One. So if you're like me and you have a lot of music.
Oh, geez, Ted.
Or, you know. Then,
and your records, yeah.
Yeah, then you need to, Then you need a big iPod.
Now, Ted has been to my apartment, and he can tell you, I don't have much in the way of records. Like I have exactly 0, but I've got 4 bookshelves just groaning with books.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, this is Ted's story.
Oh, this is mine. Okay, sorry. Here we go.
This is yours.
All right, the country of Nauru is now a thing of the past. The roughly 12,000 person Pacific Islands country has changed its name to the Republic of Nauru, matching
Nauru.
Nauru. What? Nauru. Matching the spelling and pronunciation in the national language of Doreen Nauru.
Nauru.
Beautiful Nauru Lodge. You don't know that reference. The switch will change the country's international code from NRU to NRO. They could have just left it. And its people will, Newark is EWR, like what? And its people will be known as De Nauru instead of Nauruan. The new name is spoken as Nauru. Nauru gained its independence back in 1968 after years of German and Australian colonial rule. It gained huge wealth through phosphate mining in the 1970s before reaching the brink of economic ruin in the 90s when that industry collapsed. The name change indicates the beginning of renewed national pride, that according to President David Adeyang last week. The African Kingdom of Eswatini also reverted to its historic name in recent years. It used to be called Swaziland until 2018.
Eswatini is a lot cooler, I think. But now
Eswatini sounds like a drink.
I know. That sounds delicious.
Like I'll have an Eswatini, please. And people are like,
it
does kind of a girly drink.
You're like, yeah, but it's green and it's nice and cool on a hot day. Yeah, it really does. I'll take an Eswatini. But Nauru, okay. So my peoples be from.
I have a question though.
Laos.
So it turns out that 90% of the population of this country are going
12,000 people
are going to be washed away by rising oceans due to climate change.
Well, that's probably true.
So, shouldn't they be? This is probably not a time to cause
not a major concern
to cause confusion in their name. Kind of like when you're asked, you really don't want to be asking international donors, hey, you might have heard of our old name Nauru, like we're like Tuvalu and Vanuatu.
Right.
But now we're called something you can't even pronounce. And can you write us a check?
It's very close, Ted. It's not. They didn't like. It's not like when Prince changed his name to the symbol that no one could pronounce.
Just build bigger dikes. They'll be fine. That's what New Orleans does. Just build bigger walls. You'll be okay.
It's going to be like
congressman
a tube
was it
nation.
Houston? Like the congressman in Texas that said Guam was going to tip over.
Right. A real brainiac. That guy will be president someday for sure.
Like, I wonder if he's retired. I forget his name. I got to look him up again. But anyway, so now Arrow. Okay, so I get, me being a Lao person.
By the way, you can buy citizenship to Nauru for $90,000.
What benefit?
But then you'll be washed away into the ocean.
What benefit does that get me? Why would I want their passport? Anyway.
No, are you kidding? I mean, it's paradise. I mean, have you seen pictures of this place?
No.
I mean, it is. Oh my God. I mean,
no,
holy shit.
But listen. This is about your French people and my Lao people. So it was the 7 kingdoms of the Lao people, right? When France decided to come in, in the 1800s or whatever, and was like, oh, we will make you a colony. But it's, it was historically it was a fractured multiple kingdoms. So when the French translated, they meant the Laos, right? Like plural. The S at the end of Laos is actually Laos as in plural.
More than one Lao. Yeah.
Right. Because there was like 7 kingdoms of Laos. And then when they gave them, the cartographers made the new maps, named it Laos, but they didn't realize the French meant plural Laos. And then the Americans, thank you, JFK, he went in there and said Laos, and then called the people Laotian. When the French know this, the people are the Laos, like Lao people, right?
Yeah.
We're not Laotian, but JFK, because he was JFK, popularized the term Laotian. And so King of the Hill went on to call it Laotian people. So it has stuck. Now, the Lao people could protest and be like, fuck you, Whitey. You've gotten it all wrong for 65 years. We are Lao. The country is Lao, Lao. No S. The S was meant as a plurality, not the people. And the people are not Laotian. We're Lao people.
You got the ocean in your Laotian.
But right, we're a landlocked country, right? And on top of it, here's the thing. You don't see Laos bitching and screaming about, I want you to change all map. Must be Lao only.
That's because Laos is on the terrorist watch list. I mean, your people are banned from entering the country. Oh, and also it's
and rightly so.
And also is Congressman Hank Johnson, who was worried about Guam capsizing, and he's still serving today.
He's still serving?
He is still serving.
Retired.
Oh no, he is still serving.
He's desperately trying to save Guam.
Yeah, well,
my God, Hank Johnson.
Yeah, he represents Georgia's 4th congressional district.
Texas. I'm sorry, Texas.
Yeah. Where's the 4th congressional district?
It's in Georgia. I don't know where.
What city? Well,
I'll look it up.
Okay. Hank Johnson. And yes, Ted shared a picture of Nauru. That looks amazing. But only 12,000 people live there. Anyway, my whole point is, why go rocking your little tiny boat? Laos has like 6 million people. And nobody, not even Lao Americans like me, are like, I'm offended. You guys are calling us Laos and Laotian. Like, we're going to change our name to what our historic whatever. The Lao people are like, whatever. Like, you guys know us as Laos. We'll be Laos. Whatever. Don't care. They just leave. Your map stays current. I don't collect many things. And I wouldn't even say I have a collection of maps, but I like old globes and those old, you remember those old maps that were like plastered on a big board that you'd see in school or college?
Oh yeah, the pull down ones.
The giant ones.
The scrolls that you pull down.
No. The big hard ones under epoxy, like a wooden one, that are like really nice and glossy, like real pretty, big, like wall size.
We didn't have those.
You didn't have those? Oh,
no.
You had a even poorer school than me, Ted.
Oh, that would not surprise me.
We had a nice big epoxy. Anyway, I found one at a yard sale, and it was probably from like the 1980s. and I got it for like $2 or something.
I like the old pull down ones, especially if it's a map that's like where
Yeah.
things have changed, like the Soviet
Old
Union.
lines.
Yeah.
Yes. So for posterity, if I find cool like old maps or globes or whatever, I like to pick them up. Like if I see them at a yard sale or whatever, I'll pull over and go get a map or a globe or something from somebody's estate sale. And obviously it says Nauru, the old name, because I looked at the ones I have upstairs and I went, oh, so that's okay. Why change it is my point. I get that it's like your language or whatever, but like, why? Like, why? Same argument, Robbie. You've defended this many times around where I live, like people protesting the Jefferson Davis Highway, US 1. They want to change it to, I don't know, God knows what. They hate
Clovis International Parkway.
They hate Robert E. Lee Rec Center. It's called something else now. Like why can't they just leave names alone? I'm on the camp of leave names alone. Just leave it.
Because you're not woke. I mean, honestly, that's what it is. I mean,
come on, if it was Hitler Road, you'd advocate changing it.
Why would I? No, I wouldn't. Absolutely not. Because that strikes up a conversation.
Or how about Death to the Jews Parkway?
Well, I mean, considering the fact they're all about genociding the Palestinians and stuff.
Or how about Death to the Palestinians Parkway?
That's in Jerusalem right now. I mean, Ben Gavir for his birthday party, his wife gave him a cake with a noose on it. So
yeah, he's a lovely fellow.
No, so if that's going to be your moral standing of peak behavior, I get to have my Hitler Road.
But the Now Arrow people are saying like we don't want colonial master names, so we want to change it to our language.
Right, then they can get away with all the colonial power plants.
I believe you can call anything that countries should be able to call themselves anything they want. Everybody dutifully followed along as the Congo became Zaire, became just Congo again. Everyone followed dutifully along from Cambodia to Kampuchea, back to Cambodia. Everyone, somehow we will not follow dutifully along to allow Burma, which changed
Czechoslovakia
to Myanmar in 1980, but somehow we won't admit that. Yeah,
Czechoslovakia is now Czechia.
Well,
Czechoslovakia ceased to exist.
I know.
It became the Czech Republic and Slovakia.
But now it's Czechia.
So I have a question
So it's not Czechoslovakia. It's the Czech Republic that changed to Czechia. And then there's Turkey.
So I have a question for y'all. So unless I'm mistaken, wasn't it the Kingdom of Siam that controlled Vietnam and Laos and Thailand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
so
then it
I don't know if did Siam control Vietnam. I don't think it did. I think
just parts of
Cambodia.
I think parts of it into Cambodia.
Yeah. Those Indo-Chinese borders are kind of arbitrary.
Yeah, well, they were made by the French.
Yes, and then the lines were drawn by the French, and then the French jumped ship, and then nobody. But then after the French jumped ship from the area,
because you guys were too rambunctious to hang out with.
My point is, none of those countries were like, we don't like the French colonial names. We're going to change it to something unpronounceable. After the 1960s, they were like, leave it. Like, it's fine. The branding's there.
I'm just going to say, though, look, now I don't want to Nauru-splain, but seriously, you're a country in grave crisis that is facing like total destruction. All these Pacific Island nations have been at the UN talking about how they're going to need perhaps their entire populations resettled because they may be wiped off the face of the earth by rising ocean waters. So when you have a dire situation like that, probably confusion in the marketplace is not a good idea. And maybe like the name change should have been shelved. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm really not kidding.
Leave your branding.
I think maybe the sun baked their brains and they weren't thinking straight, but I don't know.
Leave your branding, especially when you're a tiny, teeny, tiny, tiny island of 12,000 people. Leave your branding. You're in economic dire straits and climate change is about to swallow your home.
But I am, well, if you guys fly me there for a fact-finding mission, I'll be
Ooh.
happy to go.
I will
and
join you.
I will hear all
You guys should
about
look
it.
up. God, what's
Tell you the
The
place,
TMI show could be broadcast from there, although I don't think they have internet.
the island that I want to go to, and I mean this sincerely because of this, because of the history and the beauty there, is Saipan. I've always wanted to go to Saipan.
I've never looked at, like, I just don't often look up these little islands, but you guys ought to look this stuff up. I mean,
Well,
it's
Saipan
everywhere
was
in the
destroyed
South
during World War
Pacific.
II.
Well, Saipan was one of the, like, my uncle.
All of these Pacific islands are fucking beautiful.
We'll go way after this, I guess. But my uncle, he was at Pearl Harbor when it got bombed, and so I mean, he went all the way through World War II, and he was at Saipan. The Japanese government and my uncle.
So it's part of the United States. You wouldn't even have to.
It's American territory.
Passport.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's,
My
it's
uncle.
the Marianas Islands, which is ethnically very Chinese.
Yeah, my uncle. I mean, he never forgave the Japanese for this. They told the population there, because it was a colony, that the Marines would kill them and eat their bodies. And so when
Well,
the
don't let their
Imperial Army
bodies
was
go to
defeated,
waste.
well, when the Imperial Army was defeated, there's this cliff there. It's called Suicide Cliff, and the Japanese are jumping off this cliff. And he up there. He was in his diary. He only told me about it once. So this girl, she's maybe 20, 21, with a little baby. His beggar said, "Please don't do this. We're not going to hurt you. Please don't." She threw her baby off the cliff and then jumped off the cliff. And for him, that was the point. He's like, I hate these people. I absolutely hate them because
boy,
you got
way to end a show, Robbie.
Yeah, on and up, Mr. Cheery.
Jeez.
I know, right? But just to go there and just see the history and stuff, and then see how much it's
By the way,
changed.
the Northern Marianas Islands is where there's a lot of sweatshops. So often when you go to like the Gap or Old Navy, and your T-shirt is like $19, and you're like, "That's so great! It's $19, and it's made in America with a U.S. flag on the label."
Yeah, technically,
Marianas Islands.
yep.
Oh, yeah. I just prefer like my human exploitation to be direct and be like, made in Vietnam by tiny little 9-year-old fingers. Just be honest about it. All right. Did Ted freeze?
Ted is frozen. He's just
froze.
there, just gazing off into space. It's amazing.
All right. With that, we'll end it there.
Let me find us a little gamer to raid, and then we'll go away. And then I will
end it there.
And I'll see if I can help you with Dr. Reese.
Yeah, we got to call Dr. Reese in just a minute.
Yeah, I'll have to
fix his problem. Robbie's troubleshooting everyone's Rumble Studio problems.
I have to talk to Susie first, and then once I get done, I'll reach out to you and let you know, and then we will see about getting him put together. So let's see here.
Ted be frozen there. At least it's a good shot. Just pick one at random, Robbie. Let's make someone's day.
That's what I'm doing. I'm looking for some schmuck that has like an audience of one.
Oh,
so someone who'll appreciate it. So this is Squall. Okay, so we'll raid Squall. I know this guy.
All right, let's do that. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for bearing through the technical difficulties. It's like it's live podcasting. This is what happens. Thank you all. Adios, amigos.
Yep. Go ahead and hit that button and let's go.